What is going on, guys, and welcome to my Smite Jungle guide for Season 2, but I've updated it to deal with the changes that they've made to the camp spawn times. This is sort of a mid-Season 2 update that they've done, and as a result of all of that, it's ended up changing. It's not changed the starting build, so if you've seen my previous guide, you can skip that bit. But it has changed the jungle routes, so I'd recommend you watch that, and I've also updated the recommended god picks at the start of the guide, so I'd recommend you watch that bit as well. But that's pretty much all I've got to say, so without further ado, let's get into it. So the first god that I'd recommend you learn to play is Thor. Now, as I've said many times, mobility is key in jungle, and Thor's very good when it comes to mobility. His hammer is a teleport as well. If you throw the hammer out and then press 1 again to reactivate the ability, it's going to teleport you to where the hammer is, which is really handy for getting around if you need to get somewhere quickly or teleport through a wall or something like that. His ultimate also allows you to gank lanes from quite a distance, or if you're caught out in sort of the enemy side of the jungle and there are no teammates to help you, you can always ult out as opposed to dying, which is always something I'd recommend you do. It's definitely not worth to lose your life just for the sake of keeping your ult. He also has really good crowd control because when he lands on someone with his ult, he'll stun them for a short time. And he also has his 2, which not only is a stun, but it's also a physical wall, so if used correctly, that is really handy. However, that is also one of his weaknesses, is that you can wall off your teammates with that physical wall and get them killed if you're not really careful with it. That's just sort of something that comes with experience. And also, his hammer can be, his wand can be really hard to get the double tap hit. If it goes through an enemy and then comes back through them, it does an insane amount of damage. However, hitting that twice is quite difficult. The next god that I'd recommend you learn to play is Hunbatz. Now, he has great teamfight potential. He can initiate really well and also defuse the teamfights with his ultimate by crowd controlling the enemies so they can't attack you for a short time unless they beads or something. And then he also has really strong early game with his 2, which does a lot of damage early on. The only disadvantage to this is he does fall off slightly mid-game temporarily, but he does come back in the late game, and he is also very mana intensive, so you're going to be using a lot of mana using his abilities. Third god that I would recommend you learn to play is Nemesis. Now, Nemesis's 3, her shield, is insanely useful because if you get caught out in the wrong place at the wrong time, say a Kukulkan's just about to throw an ult in your face, you can quickly pop the shield. It also helps you to train your reactions because Nemesis, you do need to be able to use your abilities quite quickly, and it will absorb the majority of the damage and possibly even kill Kukulkan because it reflects quite a bit of the damage back, so if he's on low health he could kill himself, which is always fun to see. Nemesis also has very good chase with her 2 and her 4 both offering slows, and her 1 is also 2 dashes, so it's really easy to catch up with enemies like that. She also has very good tank takedown because of the protection steal feature that her ultimate has. The weaknesses are that she's not so great early game. I mean, she's not the worst god for early game, but against someone that's really strong early game like a Phantos, she probably would struggle. And also she does more single target damage than AoE effects. Like, she's not really got anything like Thor's 3 that can hit multiple enemies at once. So now onto which items you want to be buying when you first spawn in. Now, this hasn't changed since my last guide, so if you're happy with the build from the last guide, just skip over and go to the next part. But if you're one of those people that either hasn't seen the previous guide, or you're one of those people asking why we're still buying Hand of the Gods after it's been nerfed, then please stay and watch this bit because I'm going to explain that now. So the first item you want to get is Bumba's Mask for the same reason as before. It gives you mana per 5 seconds, it also heals you when you kill minion camps, and also gives you some true damage versus minion camps, which is just really useful, and helps you take them down and sustain in jungle a lot longer. Now, Hand of the Gods, I know it's been nerfed, however they've also reduced the amount of damage that camps do and reduced the health of camps, and in the current route, which I'll go over in the next part of the guide, you're also getting help from the solo laner on your speed and your mana, and their mana camps, so it's not really an issue where you're trying to take a camp on your own without the good old Hand of the Gods being able to take out the 2 side minions for you. Now, there was the option of getting Hand of the Gods level 2 in the old builds. I would not recommend doing that anymore just because you don't... Hand of the Gods level 2 now allows you to kill 2 minions instead of 1. That's really irrelevant because, as I've just said, it's now easier to kill camps. You're now getting help with them as well with the current route. It's not like you need to be able to kill 2 minions with it, so I just go for Hand of Gods level 1, a health pot, a mana pot, obviously Bumba's Mask as I've just said, and then get into Warrior Tabi level 1 because that's going to increase your mobility, which as I've said is really important, and help you get into that Warrior Tabi to get your damage online, to get your main sort of your first core item built as soon as possible, and that's really going to help you get ahead. First exception to this build is if you're jungling as a magical jungler, you're going to get level 1 shoes, because obviously Warrior Tabi is a physical item, and second off, if you're jungling as Thanatos, then you're going to get Death's Toll instead of Bumba's Mask, just because it gives him extra physical power early game, which is where he's at his best. So now onto the route that you want to be taking. Now, when Hi-Rez made this update, they said that they wanted to change the way the jungle worked and make sure that junglers didn't just have one set route to follow, and they just sort of had more freedom while still doing all the things that junglers do. And to be honest, they succeeded, because as you can see, the map is now complicated as crap, and this is only basically one route. Like, there are multiple different starts that you can do, but I sort of picked out the most common one, the one that most people will be able to do that way, that you won't try some random start and then get BM'd by your team, because even though you're doing a start that makes sense, it wouldn't be one that they recognise. So this is sort of the standard one, if you will. So you want to start off with your solo laner at your speed buff. You want to take that. You then want to go and help them with their mana buff, and rather than going onto solo lane as you would have done before, you're then going to go straight to mid camps. And if you can get your mid laner to come and help you with the mid camps, that's absolutely fantastic, because the shared XP is really important, and you may have trouble with some more squishy gods early game that don't have as much damage early game. You may have trouble taking the mid camps on your own, but that just really depends who you're playing, and ideally you want your mid laner to be helping you. Then it all becomes situational. You can go back and early gank onto solo lane if that's something that's needed. You can also gank onto mid lane if that's available. It just depends on how far the enemy solo laner and enemy mid laner are pushed up. If they're pushed way too far, then you can gank one of them. Or if you know that the enemy team hasn't taken the other side mid camp, you can always rotate to that, and then once you've gotten that, you can either go and gank mid lane, as I just said, if the mid lane is pushed up a lot, or you can go and gank duo lane if that's necessary, or, you know, if nothing's happening, you can just leech a wave off mid lane. I really recommend doing that, because again, the shared XP with the mid laner is really useful that early in the game, and then just rotate and get back camps or something. But as I've always said, back camps are best shared with either the support or the mid laner or whoever's nearby, and they're sort of just like there to get whenever mid camps aren't really a priority, that come into any sort of set route. And then I did get some questions last time about what to do once you've completed the starting route. Well, what you need to do is either just sort of, your main priority is to gank lanes. That's what you do as a jungler. So it should be going onto lane, even if it's just to poke or show your face and make the enemy sort of aware of your presence, that's fine. Leech a couple of minions and then go away again. Obviously you want to be getting your buffs and helping with buffs whenever they're up, but other than that you just want to be getting the ganks in and making sure that your laners are all ahead. If anyone's struggling, then you can go and help them out, and maybe put together the odd invade if that's something that's sort of available. But as I said, it's all situational, and that just sort of comes with experience. But anyway, I will have a link to download this in the description if you want it on a second monitor or anything like that, if that's something that helps you. So now just a quick bit of gameplay just to sort of illustrate in-game everything that I've been talking about. So here you see I get the starting build which I spoke about. Ignore the acorn, that's just part of Ratatosk's thing, he gets that at the start. I then make my way to the speed buff, which I then take with the solo laner, who happens to be Loki in this game I believe, and then we go over to his mana buff. Now you'll see me sort of go on to solo lane. I almost forgot that you're like, I probably shouldn't do that. There are various starts where you can, but it's not the one that I recommended, and it's not the easiest one. It's not the one that I was going to do when recording this. Is just sort of habit, because every start ever has involved going onto solo lane, and now all of a sudden it doesn't. So then I made my way over to the mid camps, and then just zoned out Fenrir here. Poseidon put his whirlpool through the wall just to help get mid camps and share the XP with him. Then I went over to check the other side mid camps, but they had already been taken by Fenrir, and I think the enemy mid laner was Giannis in this gameplay. So I took a wave, shared a wave mid with Poseidon, and then we proceeded over to the back camps to share that XP as well. As I said, guys, shared XP is so crucial, just because it benefits more members of the team, lets more members of the team get ahead. Obviously, you don't want to have like 3-4 people sharing a wave, because then no one gets anything out of it really, but sharing back camps, sharing the odd wave is really useful to getting your whole team ahead and not just one person. And then I would have gone to that back camp, but as I said, jungle is all about being situational and playing to what's best, and back camps are really not your biggest priority. So here I went to gank on solo lane, and then after that I recalled, came out of base, and I ended up going over to duo lane because they needed help clearing their tower, just as Artemis and Ymir made their way back to lane. Then I believe I ran off into, I leeched another wave, Always be careful if you're taking waves off Duo Lane though, because as I said, there's now 3 people leeching it, so it can, doing it too much can end up putting your Duo Lane behind, and you want to make sure that you're letting the ADC get those last hits just so that they can build their stats. But anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Like if you liked it, subscribe to see more. I'm almost at 700 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. Comment with constructive criticism if you want to see other stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.